Hello, everybody. Welcome to Biztalk Nightcap. It is yet another... Oh, my goodness gracious. I am going to get in some sound feedback there. Let me make sure I turn off my... Let me turn off my sound there. We're still in beta. We're still in beta with this thing. And I'm trying to figure out how to get my guests into this room. My guests being my co-hosts, Jason Thompson and Ben Gaines. I'm going to try to re-invite them as we get started here. Is that a different link? I don't know. Telling him to try again. Try again. We're working out the bugs. We're working out the kinks. We're trying to get this going no matter what you think. One of these nights we'll make it all work. Until then, I might just get up and twerk. Just kidding. Not going to do that. Just trying to get... It says joining. I wonder why it won't let you all in. This is making me frustrated. I do need help. Oh, well, Melon app, which is the streaming service that we're using, will be back online tomorrow to be able to help. So I'm not going to be able to get help from them tonight, unfortunately. How do I get people into this room? Guests. My guest is not showing up. If the camera is black and her sound is not okay, that's not it. If this still doesn't work, click the lock icon in the address bar at the top left. Okay, that's not it. Okay, well, we just might not have a show tonight. Do you have permissions enabled? I don't know what is happening here. And we had so much planned for this evening, for this show. We had this brand new platform that we were going to use. We were going to rank some companies, Silicon Valley companies. And I just don't know why it won't let me bring in my guests. It's rather frustrating when you think about it. Come on, Melon app. Try a different browser. Oh, Jason has joined. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, I don't know what I did different.
What happened? Did you just like reload or?
I mean, I used the second link you sent me. I don't know if that was a different one than the one you sent me before.
I don't think it was.
It sat there spinning for a while, said joining, then all of a sudden, there it was.
Well, this is new technology, so
yeah, that was exciting.
I apologize.
I was like it was like I was in the green room. Is it the green room? No, is it the green room?
There is a green room. I don't know if I can access the green room. It's I don't know what it looks like from your point of view, to be honest.
Well, you can see on your Twitter feed.
I know this is so. Last week we're kind of going through evolutions here with Biztalk Nightcap. We started on Clubhouse, and we have moved to. Last week was Twitch, but this week we're on Twitch and YouTube and Periscope. Was going to do LinkedIn, but
that's a lot to manage, though, right? Because I mean,
it all just goes through one, and allegedly it consolidates the chats into one as well.
So are the chats all consolidated in the Melon app?
I think that the YouTube and LinkedIn chat would be consolidated in Melon. They don't have Twitch chat.
Okay,
we're encouraging people who want the chat to go into twitch.tv/BizTalk Nightcap.
Is that and plus that's where all the cool emotes and stuff are. So
absolutely,
that's what the cool kids are doing anyway. So
we do have a few folks in the chat room at twitch.tv/BizTalk Nightcap. So we welcome them. We will be waiting on Ben Gaines to get in here. He's having some technical difficulties. It's telling him to install Chrome. I'm using Microsoft Edge, but people don't want to listen to us troubleshoot. So while we're waiting for him to get things kicked off tonight, I want to send empathies to. It's kind of struck me everything that's going on in Atlanta, where 8 people were murdered yesterday at some various massage parlors and spas. And for one thing, we know a lot of people in Atlanta. I know you do, Jason, where there's just a lot of people in our industry and a lot of friends who are in the Atlanta area. So that's a very impactful thing that happened in that community. But this is whether it ends up being the motive or not, I think is not relevant. There's a lot of racism in our country, period. But especially in the past year, there's been a lot of increased racism towards members of the Asian community. And I know several people uniquely who have been impacted by this. And I was struck watching the news today where there was a commentator who was saying there's not an Asian person in this country who hasn't been told to go back to China, like as an insult by a white person. And I was thinking today, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, Jason, like what role does a company have in addressing things like this in real time? There's a lot of companies that are doing good stuff in terms of providing employee support and resources and all kinds of good things with everything that's been going on with Black Lives Matter protests and Breonna Taylor, just the injustice that frankly exists throughout so many things in this country. But does a company have an obligation, or should they be reacting in real time to things that happen in society? Or is that just something that there's no way they could possibly stay in front of?
No, I mean, I think they have to. And it may not be at the top levels. I think it may be down to the individual manager and team levels that know what's going on with their organizations. We've seen a couple of our friends that are in executive management roles tweet out that they're taking the time to talk with their teams about this. In fact, I had a really interesting experience when the Capitol was raided during the election count. And, one of the things that I learned is that obviously we know people are so incredibly different that my teammates had such drastic different experiences with that. And I reached out to each one of them and just said, hey, whether this is impacting you or not, we're not going to get much work done today. Go home, take the day off, do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And it was interesting, and I guess it shouldn't be, but on Twitter, and the guy's account is now disabled, or he got kicked off of Twitter, but some guy here in Utah reached out to me and kind of attacked me for taking that stance of trying to be sensitive to my team and take care of them. Tell Ben to try Chrome. That's what I did. And just let it sit there. I mean, eventually let me in. but he kind of attacked me. It's like basically saying that I was weak and that, people just need to like get over stuff and do their work. And it was really, I don't know. I didn't quite know how to react to that. But on the other end of it, I had spouses of my employees reach out to me and say, dude, that was so awesome and so needed. Thank you for caring about your employees. We haven't been in an organization where they cared about the general well-being of the employees like you do. So to me, that matters way more than what some random dude on Twitter has to say.
Yeah, I remember you doing that on the date of the protests, and I mean that was such a gut punch that whole day. And yeah, today we do have a Slack channel at our company that is kind of like action for all. It's all about what can we do to support our communities and support our fellow employees and everything. And they did have a really nice message in relation to today, or to what was happening yesterday, as well as just kind of saying, hey, for our Asian American and Pacific Islander colleagues, consider giving them your love and your support, but give them room. Like, consider canceling meetings if someone needs to take PTO. Like, don't make an issue of it. That I thought was cool, and I was hoping that we could get some amplification of that, around the company. I'm not sure to what extent it was needed or what, but I sometimes it's hard for me to want to, expect too much from my position of white male privilege, but I just like seeing stuff acknowledged and like not pretending that everything is fine and business as usual is what we're doing.
I mean, absolutely, and I think that being empathetic is okay. That it's okay to care about our teammates, and the fact that you're working in a global organization that has people from many different backgrounds. We're not all the same. We're different. We come from different backgrounds. We process things differently, and it's okay to take that level of care for people in your organization. Not to this depth of kind of importance, but I had a note of a video that I wanted to record about the topic of treating everybody the same in that manner, saying, well, this is just a job, just suck it up, go to work, you do your job and go home and then deal with your problems. It's one of the biggest frustrations that I've had with the corporate world over my entire career is that it's historically been anti-human. We're supposed to put on this act and play this role while we're at our job, and we play the part, and then we go home, and then we can be human again. And it's just unrealistic, especially for a place that we're spending massive chunks of our time, for us not to be human during that time. And again, like when things like this happen, taking care of our teammates and making sure everybody is emotionally okay, that's what humans do. And not only is it okay, I think it should be expected of all of our organizations to kind of take that level of care.
I'm assigning moderator privileges in the chat room. Now, God willing, someday they'll have something to moderate, but if you're wondering what's happening there. Ben is still trying to get in.
Well, these are some of the challenges when you try a new platform. So
I did want to. So this is one of the things that's cool about this is how easy it is to just do stuff. So back on what we were talking about, I did come across this resource. This is a resource that was shared at work today. It's ihollaback.org. ihollaback.org. And there was some discussion on Twitter today about, what can we do to get involved? Like, how can we be allies? How can we, stand up against harassment and violence where we see it? And this has some really good trainings, some really nice guides, and some just good advice on on what to do if you see. So you can come in here and see that there's some different trainings: conflict de-escalation, stand up against street harassment, how to respond to anti-Asian American harassment when it happens to you, stand up against street harassment, how to bystander intervention to stop anti-Asian American harassment and xenophobia. These are some great topics. And so that's ihollaback.org if anyone is looking to learn a little bit more about what you can do. There was, I don't know where I can find it. There was a like 5Ds thing they had. One of them is to like distract. If you see someone being harassed, to ignore the harasser and go up to them and like be like, hey, I'm lost. Can you help me find directions, or something along those lines? There was a delegate, like if you're on a bus, for example, delegate to the bus driver, say, hey, this person's being harassed. Can you do something about it? Or if you see a law enforcement officer or something along those lines, and then there's like, get in and do it yourself. Like tell the person to that's doing the harassing that they need to step off. So, oh, Ben's on. Here we got Ben now. Let's bring him on the stream.
Hey.
Yeah.
What was the? I'm digging the hair, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it.
What do you use? Like a 0 on the side or what?
It's a 1, supposedly.
I haven't cut my hair in a long time.
You guys could like copy paste the hair from Jason and then. But what do you think about the Ben? Do you do a haircut subscription, or you have a stylist, right?
Yeah, I do nothing fancy, but yeah, I have a stylist that I go to at a salon.
Are you a once a week person or once every other week?
No, that's you. I think I'm somewhere between every 3 and 4 weeks, which I think is lately she's been leaving it a little longer on the top, so it has to be like 3 weeks. If I do 4 weeks, I look ridiculous.
Well, I did the really stupid thing by signing up for a year like unlimited pass to get haircuts. And then right before a new variant of COVID came out, the B117. And so then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go out and get my hair cut. And so I've like let 2 months of it go. But I'm vaccinated now, so I'm like willing to get out in the mix and get my hair cut, which I'll probably do a haircut on Friday. But that was a bad decision on my part. I let a bit go to waste. But I think that's where they get you with these unlimited haircut plans. Which Jason would know nothing about.
I don't know.
They're definitely so like worst COVID decision, like financially, I think was for me. So that can be yours. Mine, I think, was I signed up I re-upped Comcast, like my cable subscription, which I use almost exclusively for live sports. Like, I don't know, 2 days before the NBA shut down last March. And like we had no live sports for 4 or 5 months, whatever it was. And just definitely did not need to do that right then. And I still feel dumb about that.
Heavens to Betsy. Before we jump into our topic today of creating a tier list of best companies in tech, I do want to announce that we have some guests coming up. We do have some guests, and this is going to be very exciting. To give everyone an idea of the format, what we're looking to do in the coming weeks is start the show, interview someone for about 15 minutes, and I'm going to go with the theme of interview them on the business of whatever they're involved in. It's going to be fun. We'll have a big diversity of guests and learn about like what's going on with the business in their world. And then we'll invite that guest to stay on with us as we discuss a couple other topics and get you on with your lives. But it'll be a fun time. So topics we have coming up with guests. We're going to be next week discussing the business of astronomy. Big business in astronomy. Very exciting. One that I know you guys will love, the business of barbecue. We're going to have the business of barbecue with That Boy Is Good from Twitter. He's going to be joining us. He runs a barbecue restaurant in Louisville, and
Awesome.
that's going to be great. We will have the business of marketing for an airline. A digital marketing leader for a major airline will be joining us. And we will have the business of outdoor product development coming up in the next 4 weeks. So
You've been booking us some good guests.
I'm carrying all the weight.
You're carrying the weight on most of the show. To be fair,
I'm just say that facetiously. I needed a hobby, and it's not like I have a family or anything. So this show is my family.
Where are those 2 cats?
They're around somewhere. I think they're down in the litter box. So that's what we have coming up, and it's going to be really exciting for us. Let's dive in, though, to today's topic du jour, which is the tier list. And this might be a little tough for you guys to see because you're going to have to do it off the Twitch broadcast, but we'll do our best. And let me see if I have some good formats here that are good alternatives for that one looks like the best one. So, to be perfectly honest, I couldn't figure out how to add new companies to this list. This was a pre-built list on tiermaker.com. So, we're going to pretty much have to go with the ones that they give us. Fair? We're going to be dealing with some big companies. So, unfortunately, small tier companies like, I don't know, the ones in Utah probably aren't going to be on this list. Sorry. But the ones that are, the big names, they'll be on here. And so let's come up with some ground rules. We're going to rank companies based on prestige, based on would you be like, what level of prestige is there working for them? What else should we be considering?
Not being jerks.
Not being jerks. So being proud from an ethical perspective to be able to work for.
Yep. How about taking a active role in doing something more than revenue generation?
Okay. That's a good one.
I'm sure there's a better way, more elegant way to put it than that, but you know what I'm saying.
The triple bottom line: people, profits, planet.
I like it.
That's what you'll get from an MBA. $100,000. That's what I took away from it. Anything, Ben, that you would like to add as criteria?
Man, I up front, I don't know. Let's get into it and kind of see what comes up. I'm sure there'll be some themes that emerge.
Should we have? Oh, go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead.
Should we think of it in a way other than tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, everyone else? Like we can get rid of that if that's too many different things. We could say good, bad, and ugly. We could say.
I think 3 tiers is good.
Okay.
I think it would be a.
Hang on, because like this is a thing, right? That like Tyler, you were saying that like if you go out on blind or you listen to the business podcast, business.com podcasts, they like there's like a set of tiers that's like established, right?
Well, it's very debated. That's what we're doing here. This is a very contentious topic. Now, in general, the FANG companies, people think that they say they're top tier, but that's more maybe from a prestige of a software developer perspective, and possibly your maximum earning potential perspective as a software developer. I think FANG gets and we can illustrate that as such. And I'm not saying that this is how we're going to perfectly do things here. Is Netflix not even on here? What the heck? Netflix isn't on here, but Duolingo is. Something wrong with that.
Did you have to pull these?
No, I couldn't. I was playing around with this and I couldn't figure out. Like, it's a pain. I don't get how people like upload these little square icons. Like,
yeah, Right.
You can do it, but they ask you to do them as the little squares. I'm like, who has time for that? But there's thousands of tier lists like around video games.
That's weird that Netflix isn't on there.
We can imagine it's on there though.
So
hang on. So before there was Fang, there was GAFA, right? So you can just rearrange, just throw the G up. Yeah, there you go. Close enough. GAFA was a thing for like a hot minute before Netflix got added.
So what's the ranking? Is it ranking of if you're an employee of this company, or what are we putting ourselves into to make the ranking?
It's all based on your gut feel. Like, are these companies great are they people, planet, profit people?
See, I'm doing it the way that you suggest. Like, I'm thinking of it as employees, like, and I'm probably thinking about it more in terms of prestige than anything. Prestige and like total compensation.
Right, because that in that scenario, it probably changes how you would think about ranking it. If I'm an employee, most employees probably don't care what the outside objectivity is of the company. If it's a decent brand and I'm getting maximum pay, that's what most people care about, right?
I don't know. Like, I think people want to.
I mean, people say they want to, but when it comes down to the money,
it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how big a factor it is for most people. So
yeah,
Tyler. You just moved GAFA down.
Just as a starting point.
We've been. Oh, okay, all right. But we talked about this, I think maybe in a text thread a while ago, and if memory serves, you were of the opinion that GAFA is not tier 1, that it's tier 2. But I don't think I ever got out of you what tier 1 is and why.
The people on Blind with total compensation of $900 trillion a month, they say that the FANG companies are tier 2, and that tier 1 is things like Robinhood and Citadel, like hedge funds, and the companies that are doing their best to enrich the 1% and screw over the little guy. In my opinion, they're the tier 1 companies.
But like, I mean, so I don't think I can separate what I've seen on Blind from this ranking, which I think just speaks to the fact that I'm not that close to Silicon Valley culturally, and just like I'm not embedded in that world, and so I don't know what they talk about at lunch. And so my only exposure to that really is Blind, and I don't know. I mean, you tell me that, like, they say that FANG or GAFA is tier 2, but that seems to be everything. Everything is about getting to work at FANG. They've got leak code. Like, everyone's like, oh, should I actually do my day job at at Twitter, or should I just leak code all day to prepare for the Google interview? And like, there's this whole industry, this sub-industry of a subscription site, probably many of them, but LeetCode seems to be the predominant one, that's all about helping you prepare for the Google interview, or Amazon or Facebook or Apple or Netflix, which is just nuts to me. But I don't think that exists for Robinhood, or I mean, maybe it exists for hedge funds, but I guess that's my argument for. I think that Blind thinks of FANG as tier 1.
Okay. So let's maybe go to the bottom of the tier, because I had this queued up because of it. It's a recent item, and there's some chat on it on the Twitch chat. Let's talk about Blizzard, and let's talk about being able to figure out where we rank this from is it a cool company because of what they produce, Or I don't know if you saw the news that came out today that there were layoffs around 200 people. I think it's something like 1,000 people have been laid off over the last year and a half or so, quite a few during COVID. And their CEO got a $200 million bonus today on top of his $30 million salary.
That is bananas. Why does this keep happening? Are we just like running some old contracts through the pipes, or is big business just thumbing their nose at us?
Well, we've seen it happen in a lot. I think we saw it at Southwest as well. That and maybe there's something to be said for these CEOs that guided these companies through an incredibly challenging time. But these companies slashed deeply at employees and made and asked employees to make significant sacrifices. If employees weren't outright let go, they were asked to stay on at drastically reduced salaries. Many of them were put on furlough, which to me seems way worse than being let go. You're kind of put in this limbo state, and once the money starts flowing back in, the leadership at the very top gets these massive bonuses. And again, on one hand, I can see it, right? Like, okay, we've navigated through this incredibly difficult period. But on the other hand, we destroyed thousands of employees. Why aren't we using the money to do right by them rather than giving $100 million to someone that's already making $50 million a year? Am I wrong?
No. So I'm changing the tiers.
Okay.
We're going to have cream of the crop, really good, meh, bad news bears, and FOH. You can do that.
You can just go ahead and throw Oracle in FOH now. Just save us the trouble of doing it later.
Unless you love selling databases and operating databases.
I mean, again, like that's just my perspective is that at least in Silicon Valley, these legacy tech companies that feel really legacy, like Oracle's been around since like what 1974 or something crazy like that. It's like stupid old for a tech company,
right?
I think.
So let's sort through this list here and put in some FOHs. Robinhood, they're an FOH based on what they did.
Now, see, that's
like
interesting because
Wait, weren't they just tier one?
No, they were tier one before they
screwed everyone over, all the Redditors.
No one's into Robinhood anymore, huh?
What they did is illegal.
Listen, I'm not defending. This is not a referendum on like Robinhood itself, the ethics of Robinhood. It's the like how desirable is this as a place to work?
It's a holistic, like our view as a few Utah dudes,
right?
Like,
and we're all coming at this from different perspectives, which is what makes it fun. I'm saying that I am surprised. I would be like, you can knock them down for the lack of ethics. That's totally fair. All I'm saying is I'm not sure that their prestige as an employer took as much of a hit as.
I disagree.
But
I disagree.
I
think it took a hit.
Leave it. I'm not saying it didn't take a hit. I'm just saying I don't think it went from the company that everyone seemed to want to work for all the way down to no one wants to work here. Like I think it probably landed somewhere in the middle, but I don't know for sure. That's if I were a venture capitalist, I'm sure I'd be talking to people who could answer that question.
So are we putting Robinhood in the meh category? Certainly not really good or cream of the crop.
I mean, it's more about the process than the final landing place. So yeah, I mean, put it wherever you want.
By the way, Blizzard was an awesome company, and then Activision acquired them. And this is not anything against Activision, but when you are a really tight-knit little family that's doing cool things, and then you get acquired by a big guy, it's hard to keep that culture going.
Like, I wouldn't know anything about
that. Wow. Shots fired. I can see one that I think is a cream of the crop right off the bat, and that's Roblox. I have never crossed someone who doesn't think that working at Roblox isn't amazing.
Yeah.
And they just it seems like Roblox can do nothing wrong, and they just went public. Congratulations to the Roblox team.
They're definitely hot right now.
I think Ben bought in.
I bought a little bit.
Your beak?
2 of my kids are basically addicted.
Mine as well.
Yeah. Yep.
I also think, and you might disagree here, Tesla is a cream of the crop company.
Ooh. Now, this is an interesting one because why, for all of the, I mean, maybe they don't have the market cap of the FANG companies, but the kinds of people that I see, and again, like so much of my opinions, unfortunately, are going to be based on blind, but like that crowd, the blind crowd, is exactly the crowd that I would expect to be just worshiping Elon Musk and elevating Tesla to the highest levels, and yet they don't seem to talk about working there in the same way that they talk about buying the stock. And that makes me question whether it deserves to be a cream of the crop company.
So I'm bringing the perspective of what the company can be, not just like financially, but for the world. I think it's and take away Elon Musk from the equation. Tesla, the technology platform they have built and are developing, I believe at some point that the car companies like Ford, GM, like GM is saying we're going to make all of our vehicles in Europe electric by 2028 or whatever. They don't have an electric vehicle like that's worth whatever on the market. Like every company that makes an electric vehicle, it's a joke for the most part. And then you have all of these little companies like Rivian and Canoo, and they're like all talking big about these electric vehicles they're going to be putting out, and they never put anything out. And Tesla is churning them out by the thousands. And so my thought is that eventually Tesla's going to license its platform to other car companies, and that's going to be when they explode from being a $300 billion or whatever they are now. So what are they, $600 billion company to a $2 trillion company.
Well, let's talk about some of, and I have no idea what it's like to work there or the ins and outs. I want to say Hila knows someone that works there. Maybe Hila can jump in on the chat and offer some insights. But I will say, I've worked with several companies in the renewable space. We probably all have experience in the renewable space with people coming to our door, maybe more pre-COVID, pitching solar. We have a fairly large solar company based here in Utah. Back before they merged, and it was Solar City, and still continuing now. I don't know if you've dealt with Tesla on the renewable side, purchasing solar for the house, power walls. But their sales strategy, or maybe I should say their sales culture, is night and day different from every other company in the space. So from an employee standpoint, and I talked with the guy that I was talking to about potentially getting solar for the house, and I'm like, how are you guys making your quarterly numbers? Because every other guy that I've talked to is up in my grill, is lying to me, is telling me things that aren't true, like nonstop bugging me. I'm like, you're not even pushing me. I don't want to push. He's like, I'm here to give you the facts. If you want to buy it, you buy it. If you're not, I'm not gonna bug you about it. So, but everyone I've talked to on the solar side of that business seems to have that kind of approach to how they do business. It has to speak something to how the overall culture is within at least that business unit. Oh, he knows someone that works at SpaceX. That's right.
And it's pronounced Tesla.
Tesla, yeah. Tesla with the Z.
Please observe the following over-the-top eye roll. Oh, brother.
I can, in good consciousness, as we're looking at this list, call Facebook a really good company as a contributor to
I would put Facebook
destroying...
on bad news bears.
Yeah,
I actually would agree.
I think none of the three of us are going to touch Facebook with a 10-foot pole. I'm continually amazed that they here's a question. Does the fact that Facebook is in this FANG group say more about the fact that we only value market cap and stock growth? Or, I know from an engineering perspective, Facebook does Facebook invented React, which was, for a few years, the JavaScript framework for front end development. So they're doing cool stuff. But the fact that we include them in this group, in this rarefied air of FANG, what does that say about what we value?
It is the definitive, for my money, it's the definitive company of greed, and just tearing apart the fabric of society, with fake news, misinformation, just weaponizing and monetizing people's every base desire.
I mean, I think it's one thing if it's a platform that enables that, but I think that it's more and more clear that they've done it with a purpose. And that's the issue that I take with Facebook, is that they're knowingly taking these actions that they know are destructive, but they're trying to get theirs. It's like, well, we got to get ours and party before the whole world self-destructs, and it's our fault that it happens. So that's the problem that I have with Facebook. And honestly, right now, the space that we're in, talking privacy and all of this, I probably drop Apple and Google down to Meta, because I'm taking issue with both of those, taking this stance that they're trying to position themselves as the Robin Hood, this savior that come in and we're going to look out for the little guys, and we're going to take care of your privacy. I think the more that we find out about what they're doing, it's all BS. It's all a smoke and mirror for what they're really trying to do, and that both of them are trying to corner the ad market, and they're using this privacy as a way to maybe distract folks from the fact that that's what they're really doing.
Can't disagree with anything you just said. If we're moving them down to the mid tier for various ethical reasons, Amazon's got to go too. The things they
Amazon, I have it. Go ahead.
I just say the things they do, the anti-competitive things for their merchant sellers, like monitoring performance of products that people are selling on their platform, and if they see that there's high margin and there's opportunity there, they go into their own private label brand of it. That stuff is shady.
This is one of those things where I'm wondering if you do a math equation and figure out, are you plus or minus based on all of the things you're doing? I don't disagree with you. I also think about the last year, and I think about how much more difficult would my life have been without Amazon. It made last year not only survivable, it made it comfortable. The fact that I didn't have to leave the house or do anything, and within a day, I could get almost anything that I needed. And maybe that's justifying it and kind of glossing over all of the negativity because it makes my life better. But man, I don't know what last year would have looked like without Amazon.
Yeah, maybe Mez we're using these companies.
Right.
We're not certainly no one. I'm using Apple. I have Apple right here. I have Apple on my wrist. It's like I'm an Apple fanboy. I bought AirPods Max, for goodness sakes. I will buy whatever they put out blindly.
Tyler's that one guy that has the AirPods Max.
No, they're the best. It's actually the best Apple product I've ever owned.
No, I know you love it. You've got me seriously tempted. I just, that was the first Apple product that I saw that I wasn't like, I have to have this on day one. So. And
Amazon is super convenient, and there's obviously, and with the whole privacy thing, we are obviously as humans willing to trade a lot for convenience. And
yeah, so let's talk about that with Uber maybe, because it's hugely convenient, but they're probably screwing over the majority of their, and I'm going to put it in quotes, employees. I saw that California recently, I don't know if it's gone through or not, but it looks like California is forcing Uber and Lyft to recognize their 1099 contractors as employees. But what do we say about that, right? Like, it's definitely made transportation much easier, and it's given a much different option, but they've treated their employees pretty badly.
Yeah, until they give benefits or some level of support.
They're 1099 contractors.
For their contractors, they can FOH, both of them.
Hey, I'm an independent consultant, independent contractor, tax purposes. That's a Seinfeld quote.
These two companies are very problematic, and I'm not saying don't use them, but when you do use them, you better be tipping the you-know-what out of for your driver. Like, and the same thing with like DoorDash and Instacart. Like, the worst thing Uber ever did is they, like, for maybe 10 seconds when they first started, they said no need to tip your driver, the tip's included. And somehow now everyone thinks the tip's included. I've driven for Uber and Lyft, and if you aren't getting tips, you're not making money. Like, I luckily don't need to drive for Uber or Lyft. I just did it for kicks and giggles. There are people who that's their life, and they're paying full board for everything, the car, the maintenance, everything. And your little Uber partner 10% off discount at a Chevron that's 80 miles away isn't doing anything for you.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Where are you guys going to put your employer?
So I will say that on Blind, Adobe is considered a tier 3 company from what I've observed. So Tyler and I have seen different things clearly on Blind. The way I've interpreted it is that they consider Fang tier 1. I think Microsoft is in tier 2, but I don't know who else is in tier 2. And like Adobe and Salesforce and other, similarly sized companies, similarly cultured companies are probably also with us in tier 3. I can't remember who else at the moment I've seen them associate with us there. But anyway, that's clearly not how we're tiering them up. So I would. It feels to me so. The best way for me to rank Adobe is to rank Salesforce, because that way I'm not biased. That's where I would have put them.
Both. Any company you work for, like, you can't go to an employee of either company. You're going to have bad days at every company. But in general, and this is what I always tell people, is a bad day at Adobe, where I've worked for 9 years, which should speak for its freaking self. A bad day at Adobe, and probably the same, a bad day at Salesforce is better than a good day at a lot of other places. You really lose perspective when you're treated well over time. It's like you get used to whatever. So the reality is, and this is what I can say with 100% authenticity, is over COVID, I think Adobe showed its true colors in a good way. You know how many people got laid off from Adobe during COVID? Zero. And on top of that, doing things like day off every 3 weeks, like an extra day off for mental health, work from home fund, and giving people, money to stay remote. They're changing to be a remote first. Is that the official term we're using? Remote first? I can't remember. Like, remote's going to be a part of the culture going forward. And this is a company that has always been like pretty anti-remote. A lot of good things came out of it, and I imagine it's the same at Salesforce. I can't speak firsthand to things at Salesforce, But Ohana, they take care of Ohana. So,
well, Ben's on mute, and I don't know anything about working for either of those companies. I will say, and I don't know if this adds more weight to it, but Adobe hasn't always treated me very well, and so it would be easy for me to put them in a bad bucket. But I've never really heard anything bad about how their employees are treated. In fact, I know lots of people that were original Omniture that are still there saying it was night and day, better than Omniture, the best company they've ever worked for. I've never seen anything about the CEO taking opportunity to pad the pockets of the top executives. Maybe that happens, but it's never been out in the news. Just everything that we hear in the marketplace is that Adobe is a solid employer. So I think really good is probably the category to put them in.
I do think, by the way, that depending, I took maybe an unfair shot at bigger company buying a smaller company earlier. I do think that in a ton of ways, as someone who has been with the company since the Omniture days, it is better in many, many ways. I mean, it's nice. Like, I miss the close knit nature of the small company. I think I was employee number 360 or so at Omniture. But in terms of just, work-life balance and kind of the trust that is given to employees. Like, I remember starting at Omniture, and this is super normal. And like, I don't think Omniture was, like draconian or anything in this regard, but I remember, I was pretty fresh out of college. I think I'd been out of college for 8 months or so. And so this was like my first real job, for all intents and purposes. And they had an employee handbook with, rules and regulations and things. And it said that you needed like VP approval to take PTO more than a week consecutively, so that you weren't gone for a ton of time. And I just remember thinking, all right, well, I guess I'm never going to go on a 2-week vacation or anything like that, or, be gone for 10 days or whatever. And I just like the trust that I feel like, and not every Adobe employee has this experience. Like, if you look at the Adobe Blind board, this is definitely not universal, but my experience has been that Adobe trusts its employees. If I need to be gone for 2 weeks, I can be gone for 2 weeks. And, people will cover, it's very supportive in that regard. And so, I continue to respect it, for that kind of thing. Anyway, that's it. Well,
we have a SpaceX comment from Hila. It says, yes, Tesla is awesome to their employees. I have friends that love working there. So thank you for fetching that comment for us. That's good validation. Tesla is cream of the crop. But guys, we're not going to finish this. This has been an interesting discussion, though. I say we put a pin in the. Why am I should not be the largest.
You're the big face.
No way. I say this has been interesting. It's given us some things to think about and talk about, and it's just an interesting process to go through. Any final thoughts for tonight before we break?
So next Wednesday, we're talking astronomy.
The business of astronomy.
Astronomy.
Amy Oliver. She works for the Fred Lawrence Whipple Observatory down in Arizona.
Can I get out my telescope and do this from my backyard, looking at the stars?
Can you hook your telescope up to the internet?
Sadly, no. It is not a computerized telescope.
That'd be cool to get a feed into our.
It would be
Twitch, yeah.
I wonder if you could access the call from your phone, and because like if you hold your lens up to your camera lens on your phone,
I've tried it. It's not good. But this is exactly the kind of thing. Talking about stupid financial decisions. This is the kind of thing that would get me to buy a computerized telescope like tonight and set it up in preparation for the call next week. So we'll see.
If we incorporate, it could be a business expense.
There you go.
Yeah, so this will be fun. I'm hopeful that as we start to get some guests on, we'll start to get a cadence here. We have like 5 loyal fans, our supporters. So I would ask our kind of 5 loyal fans to help give us some feedback on how we can get the word out. Definitely ask if you guys are enjoying it to share it with your network. It's going to take a grind to kind of get this going, and I'm glad you guys are dedicated to kind of pushing this through, because I know starting new things is really, really difficult because you don't get that immediate validation of having 1 million people watching your show, and it's really, really hard to keep doing it. So I appreciate the dedication to making it go. And I appreciate the 5 loyal people that show up every week. If we can double it to 10 next week, that would be amazing, because I am definitely enjoying these conversations.
More viral than COVID.
Oh,
I will say we did get some good traffic in the replay. The video from last week had
nice
28 views.
There we go.
28 views. So, and this will be more shareable. So we are on. This was broadcast on Periscope on Twitter, which I think is going away, unfortunately.
That's what I've heard.
And yeah, so we'll do our best to keep it going, but it's fun. It's fun to talk to you guys and have a little conversation. So we're going to bring the guests into the mix starting next week. And if you all, first of all, and if anyone listening wants to be a guest or has an idea for a guest, we would love to do that. We'd like to have a guest each week that can talk about what they're passionate about, especially if there's a business angle on it. And then just join us to talk about whatever else comes up. So it's good times. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Ben and Jason. Hope you have a good rest of the night. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Not me. I think this was good.
Good.
It is I bet, Ben, you could cut paper with that hair side of your haircut. Are you wearing a mask? Or is that's a t-shirt? I was wondering if you had like one of those neck gaiters.
Oh no, that is a t-shirt.
All right. Cool. I couldn't tell because it was kind of cut off. I'm like, are you wearing a mask on this show?
No.
All right. We will wrap up the stream. Thanks, everyone. See you again next week. Go Aggies in the tournament.